Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Girls Gone Hajj, Heart of Hajj. We do appreciate you all for joining. We, sorry.
You're muted.
Can you?
Yes. You muted yourself again.
I'm sorry, I'm literally not muting myself. I don't know what's happening. So thank you again. This is Sultana Whitfield from Girls Gone Hajj. I'm one of the founding members, and we extend a welcome to you all for joining our second workshop in Heart of Hajj series. So thank you for joining. As we customarily do, we're going to open up with, Al-Fatiha. So I'm going to send it over to Imam Suleiman, if you would.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله.
Ameen. Thank you so much, ma'am, Suleiman. And I'm going to apologize for the background noise. There is some background noise here, so you may hear some of that, but I do apologize. So my name is Sultana Whitfield. I am one of the founding members of Girls Gone Hajj. We are, a group of Hajjs that we went completed Hajj in 2009. And so we actually started our group called Girls Gone Hajj. Saida will go a little bit more into it, our mission. And so what I want to do is to turn it over to my Hajjs. We're going to do introductions, and so I'll have my Hajjs introduce themselves.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Hanifa, and we welcome you all.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Farida, Hanifa's sister, and we also welcome you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saida. I am going to briefly go over what the mission of Girls Gone Hajj is. So Girls Gone Hajj is an apparel company started by the four of us. All of us are from North New Jersey, and we were blessed to be able to perform Hajj together in 2009. That journey inspired us to create this t-shirt line called Girls Gone Hajj. And it's a collective idea that we brought to fruition when we were tasked with the responsibility of hosting celebratory events for our Muslims that were coming behind us to fulfill the Hajj rites. So our mission is to create an awareness of the obligation of Muslims to perform the fifth pillar of Islam as soon as possible. So in 2020, we brought about, again, our t-shirt line, Girls Gone Hajj, and this is who we are.
So without further ado, I wanted to introduce our esteemed speakers for today. I'll start with saying that Hajj Pros LLC is a full-service Hajj and Umrah company. It's comprised of a staff of Muslim-born and raised Americans. They are dedicated to assisting Muslims fulfill the fifth pillar of Islam. They also facilitate educational and travel opportunities throughout the world. So it is a collaboration that is born out of the efforts of Imam Suleiman Abdul Hamid and Shahida Sharif, who have been married for over a decade. They met while being committed to studying and teaching al-Islam. And they realized the difficulties for Muslims from Western cultures, the difficulties that they encountered during Hajj due to various barriers such as culture and language. And they committed themselves to facilitating a service that would bring a sense of ease in fulfilling this obligation of Hajj. So they have assisted our community's pioneers, married couples, women, families with children, and believers with varying degrees of disabilities, and hope to really encapsulate that with every difficulty comes an ease, and there is an apparent difficulty with the Hajj journey that they hope to facilitate. So a little bit about Brother Imam Abdul Hamid, who is CEO of Hajj Pros. He attended Clara Muhammad School in Oakland, California. He was afforded a scholarship for the study of Arabic and Islamic studies at Abu Noor University. And with the arrangement from Imam Warafuddin Muhammad, may Allah grant him Jannah Firdaus, and the Grand Mufti of Damascus, Syria, Sheikh Ahmed Kuftari, he continued his studies abroad. He is currently teacher of Arabic and Islamic studies at Muhammad Schools of Atlanta and teacher of Fiqh and Aqidah in the Faith Institute, as well as Imam of Atlanta Masjid of Al-Islam. Sister Shahida Sharif is co-founder and COO of Hajj Pros. She began her early Islamic education in Brooklyn, New York at the Al Kareem School, was later afforded the opportunity through the Mosque Care Study Abroad program with Abu Noor University, with the focus on Arabic language and the Islamic sciences. She has extensively served the youth and communities, both non-Muslim and Muslim, and is program director of the Faith Institute of Atlanta Masjid of Al-Islam. Without further ado, I hope you will welcome our esteemed guests. And I wanted to just go straight into our first question, which was, you know, we talked a little in your bio about what gave you the impetus for starting your company, but wanted you to expand on that.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum. And I want to again thank the Girls Going Hajj group for this invitation. We're honored to be here with you all today, following one of my mentors from our last show, Hajj Khalil Ghani, and the Muezzin group. So alhamdulillah, we're happy to be here with you all today. So your question, it actually brings up a story. We started our company in Syria, in Damascus, where we were studying. That's where we met. That's where we got married. All of that stuff happened there, right? And so we were actually making Umrah as a group. You all know the Imam had students. There was a whole delegation. So we said, okay, let's make Umrah. Imam Safir Rab from Baltimore, who we all know, had the idea. He said, well, let's take all of the Western students. If you're from Canada, if you're from UK or whatever, you know, we had to rent a bus. We had to do all of this stuff. And so our group got bigger. So we're facilitating this process there in Damascus. We got there, made Umrah. Of course, we saw some of the community members, and they're there, that same group that he just mentioned with Brother Yusuf Waziruddin, Rahimahullah, and Murshidun, Hajj Murshidun. And they, you know, we're there, we're helping with a little Arabic and that. Next year, we did it again. But while we're doing it there in Syria, it was hard. It was difficult. They weren't helping us, meaning the embassies and all of that. And the main crust of this story is I got to the window after long waiting. We had a letter from the Grand Mufti to say, give these kids visas. The guy looked at me. He said, this ain't America. He's talking in Arabic. You ain't in America. Slammed the window in my face. And I was shocked. And we was up the creek. It was more craziness to the story. Our bus driver quit. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We had to go get another bus. Just wow. But this whole time we're wondering what's happening to our community at home. How are they? What are they going through, right? We just saw Brother Yusuf and them there, and they was having drama in the hotels and stuff. And so we say, now we speak Arabic. We got all this fancy information. We have this skill. We have to facilitate this for our community. And we know our Imam Muhammad, Rahimahullah, he said, lead yourselves on Hajj. That was a charge that he gave us. So having that in the back of our minds, realizing how difficult it was, when we came home, when we finished, we incorporated Hajj Pros, or Professional Hajj and Umrah Guides is the official name of the company. Everybody knows us as Hajj Pros. And just the desire to assist, you know, our community and our believers with this important right. Would you add anything? No. But yeah, that was a long story or a short, long story, right?
And I think, thank you, Brother Imam. These are the stories that we need to tell so that it's clear why more people in our community need to go to Hajj and need to come back fired up about Hajj. I think Hanifa has the next question. Or sorry,
Oh.
Saida has the next question.
I can
She's
go.
on mute.
Oh.
She's on mute.
You're on mute, sweetie.
I'm sorry. One of the things that always comes up is regarding when making Hajj is finances. So one of the questions that we had was, would you say for someone who views the idea of making Hajj as a financial burden and who has debt, should they still pursue making Hajj if they have debt such as a mortgage, car note, credit card bills, all those things that go with life? Should they still pursue the idea of making the Hajj?
That's an excellent question. There's actually somebody else that we have to recognize in our Black folk Hajj history is Brother Shaheed. I can't remember Brother Shaheed's last name. Shaheed Tours out of Brooklyn, New York. That was the New York company. And Shaheed Tours had a package for $1,500. This was like in the beginning of time. And that was so expensive to us. Like when we started, our package was $1,500. And I mean, well, Brother Shaheed was like top of the line. So we tried to get lower than that. So I think our first package might have actually been about $1,350. Can you imagine that, right? And what I like to remind people, with that being the case, that was 20 years ago. Nothing cost the same price that it cost 20 years ago. No service cost the same. And so I like to remind folks, because sometimes when they say it's too high, I ain't going, that's like the cop-out answer. But everything else, like Brother Gotti said on the last call, that's the reality of inflation, right? So that's one part of the answer. The second part of the answer is, remember, you're dealing with Saudi Arabia. All love to the king, but Saudi Arabia's competition is who? Dubai, Qatar, all the rest of them places. Everything over there is expensive. And these rich-minded Arabs, just because we Muslim and practicing and all that, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be capitalist with their business. Now, that don't sound good. I mean, we don't like that because we're the one that got to pay all of the money. But that I just want for us to be honest when we're having the discussion about the prices of Hajj, right? Last year, or when we were last in business, $89.50. That's where our package was. And inshallah, when we return, it'll be that again. And that hurts. It actually hurts. What do I mean it hurts? When the brother got his 3 wives and he bringing y'all from New Jersey, so I can make that joke. And he trying to, you know what I mean? He want to bring everybody and all of that stuff. And I got to tell the brother, hey, it's $9,000. You know what I mean? And and then so. But the reality is, understand, and again, I if I can speak on behalf of these companies that's in our community, we don't set these prices. We don't sit around and say we want to charge $10,000 for Hajj. That's how much it costs. And just do the math. A plane ticket, how much that's going to cost? $3,000. A 5-star hotel, which is all we use for 7 days with breakfast and dinner, how much is that going to cost? Then in Medina, breakfast and dinner, how much is that going to cost? Transportation, Mina. At the end of that story, that's going to be about $8,000, right? So again, I just want to put it in perspective, and so people could break down the cost. You just calculated $8,000. So the challenge of again, and I want to just keep reiterating because some of it is just a universal answer. Like Haji Ghani said, we have to be better at prioritizing Hajj. We have to make that a priority. Put them $100 away. Put them $200 away out of my every check, and you have that. You have that $8,000. It is expensive. I'm not going to deny the reality, but I want us to see the bigger picture that you are paying for. You're paying for a quality service, and inshallah, in the future we can do something to get it down. But that is the reality of just where we are in the state of the world.
And also too, just as far as the priorities, you mentioned having a mortgage, having credit card bills, or just other obligations. When you're in the process of paying that debt, you're in the process of fulfilling that obligation. So some people feel like I have to pay my whole mortgage off, I have to pay off all my bills, or like I have to be zeroed out in debt in order to make Hajj, when the thing is like your intention and your actions are alignment with paying your bills. Like you wouldn't, if Allah was to remove you from this earth, you were in the stewardship of paying your bills and fulfilling your obligations. So it's not like you were going on Hajj and not and leaving home with your bills unpaid. So you have to secure everything before you leave and make sure that things are in place. So it's not a matter of and this is just the society we live in. You're going to have a mortgage payment, you're going to have a car payment, unless you pay for everything in cash. But the plan is, as he was saying, with prioritizing, is you're saving for Hajj as you are, as you would save for anything else, college or your children or whatever other responsibilities we have. And so it's a matter of at what part of the list do I put Hajj on, right? Do I put that at the top, as one of my priorities? Or do I say, well, after I turn 50 or after I turn 60, after I've done X, Y, and Z? We don't know our time on this earth, right? And so it's a matter of making the intention, all right, to make Hajj. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does manifest things in a way that we may not even, realize. And oftentimes we don't even realize it, how much we spend over a period of time, just subscriptions we have, or, things that we put out money for. And not to say that people are just spending money frivolously, no. But if we actually look at our gym memberships, our this and that, and all those things, what are we really, prioritizing as our, goal and our intention? And so it's not about zeroing out. It's about fulfilling your obligations, being sincere in your intention, and moving forward on that. So some people may say, well, that's irresponsible for me to take this trip. It's not just a trip. That's the other thing. Hajj is not just a trip. Hajj is not a vacation. Hajj is, it's nothing like you've ever experienced before. It's a spiritual journey. It's very much mental, emotional, but it's also you're fulfilling a right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made incumbent upon us if we're in the position to do so. Now, of course, if you're not in the position to do so, that's a different conversation, right? And when I say not in a position, meaning you're below, the means of being able to afford it.
I just wanted to ask you all to briefly speak to this idea of roughing it there. We have stories in our community of that.
Absolutely. And alhamdulillah, 18 years. 18 years, things have drastically changed of the reality of, you get there. I can recall one year, and I know your question was specifically about roughing it, but I just want to say how things change. We were there 1 year, and construction, they talk about the city that never sleeps, 24-hour construction. We were in the Harlem one day. The next day we came back, they had removed the whole wall that, so we were like lost. We couldn't realize what's the difference. They've changed the environment. So what was rough, 18 years ago and rough now, it really ain't rough. I mean, unfortunately, people go and you want a little rough, you know what I mean? Unless you just got like a bootleg company that rips you off or something. You're in a 5-star hotel. I mean, I know what that Mu'adhin do, they nothing but 5-star, right? Hajj Pros the same. So, 5-star hotel. Some of us, we ain't never had buffets like that in our lives, right? You got 7 different types of meat and fruit and pastries and all that stuff. That's not rough, right? The roughness is it's that internal struggle of I gotta wait, right? Yeah, it's a little rough that that shower and that bathroom is in that same hole, right? That's unusual, so that's rough. But the Hajj ministry, to their credit, has done an excellent job at upgrading things. One year it was the first year that they had regular toilets in Mina, and that's these funny stories, right? Right, 8 types of hummus in a 5-star hotel. We ain't never had that before, but it was the first time they had regular toilets. So the first day, and I knew, I said that thing ain't gonna last. First day, the top where the top of your toilet, that was broke. Second, no, the first day was just the toilet seat. Toilet seat was gone. Second day, that top thing was gone. About the third day on Hajj, somebody had broke the whole toilet off, and so that hole was just there because people's mind, just in their mind, that's just what they're used to. But there's toilets now, there's electricity, there's some type of air condition, and the idea that you have to rough it on Hajj, that's false. No, you don't. I have a friend of mine. First year we took him on Hajj, the whole Hajj, he's frowning, like real uncomfortable and strange. I'm like, what's up, man? He pulled me to the side and said, hey, could we be happy on Hajj? Could people have in their mind that I'm supposed to be, that's false. And so you mentioned those stories. I like to remind people, don't tell nobody them stories. Tell people your pot, that was for you. You were supposed to get lost. You were supposed to lose all your phone cards and all that stuff because there was a lesson for you to learn. And so what happens, and people have told us this, they go looking for those problems, right? They go looking for the problem. They go looking to get robbed. They gonna steal your money, and they gonna, the little Indonesian, they gonna take all your money and cut your, and then none of that stuff happens. And I wind up distracted the whole time looking for this negative rather than being open to the beauty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for you, specifically in your Hajj. So, I go and turn on the 5-star and use my shampoo and all that stuff while I'm there, and that roughing again, for this is the last thing, I'm sorry for going on a little long, but that was an excellent question. We're spoiled. We are so spoiled as Muslim Americans, right? And as Westerners, because it's the same thing that we see with our Canadian brothers and sisters, and because you're all in the same area. Y'all remember you were all in the same area with the Westerns. We're so spoiled that there's no hot water for tea. You ain't got no 24-hour tea water anywhere while you're in America, right? But we want to, raise havoc that the tea water is out or whatever because we're spoiled. So sometimes that little bit of discomfort, again, those are those lessons on patience, reliance on Allah, and it's things that's good for us sometimes. But Hajj has upgraded so much. So for people who are going to make Hajj, that story that brother told you 50 years ago about him sitting on a bus for 9 hours, that stuff ain't gonna happen. They don't even do that no more, so we have to up into the modern times,
Yeah, and I would just add, it was funny. One sister said one year, she's like, the first 2 weeks it was good, we had the hotel, everything, but that last week was so rough. I was like, that was Hajj. So, she was talking about being in the tents, and things like that. And so there is a point of discomfort where you're not in the hotel. And like some people even say, like, do I need to be in the tent? Can I just sleep in the hotel during? And it's like, that's not the Hajj, so we look for being comfortable all the time. We look for no struggle at all times. And as soon as struggle hits us, we look for the comfort, right? And when we don't realize that there's blessing in the struggle and there's a blessing in the quote unquote roughing it, and And it's, you know, while people say they look forward to the 5-star, I actually look forward to the tent city. You know, I look forward to seeing all the believers, you know, in their ihram and making dua, and I, you know, just being uncomfortable, meaning there's purification happening. There's something that I'm supposed to experience, you know, in this condition. And so, yes, I may be in a tent with 30 sisters, you know, I may have to step out of the tent to go use this bathroom. I call it like a Girl Scout, you know, adventure in that sense. And so when we say roughing it, yes, it is to take us out of our normal comfort zone and our normal elements. But what is the real message? What is the real you know, lesson that we're supposed to be getting? Is that we have to remove all these comforts to get comfortable with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That if we were at home and we removed all these comforts, where would we be? How would our faith be, right? And so in order for us to really submit fully, in order for us to really experience the Hajj, we have to remove a lot of these comforts, right? Does that mean we have to be paupers and, you know, sleeping on the floor all the time? No. But if we've never experienced any type of struggle or any type of, you know, discomfort, what does that say about us, right? And so, you know, some people, they watch those shows, Survivor, or, you know, when you're being tested, we have a natural survivor in our faith that tests you spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. And it's a beautiful thing because it allows you to actually see where you are. Like, this is your litmus test. Where's my faith? You know, where's my heart? Where's my mind? where is my life, you know, at this point? And so it's good to be able to have this kind of indicator that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us naturally to say and assess, you know, where we are, inshallah.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
And if
Thank
I
you.
may add about our mother made Hajj the year before, and I remember picking her up from JFK, and I was like, "How was Mina?" And she just said, "Alhamdulillah." And she didn't say it. She didn't disclose about Mina until we got back the following year. So
Right.
we want to add to that yes, don't tell horror stories, and because growing up, I had a little like, oh, so many people, so many crowds. So we just want to implore people to tell good stories because, as you said, what you experience is not going to be what I experience.
I just want to add one thing. You know, and not to just pump ourselves up, but we actually make it where you can focus on your Hajj. So we take care of all the logistics. We make sure when you're in that crowd of people, we're navigating you through the crowd that you don't even realize you're moving. You know, we look out to see when is the best time to do things, and so we don't put our people in a position where they will be uncomfortable. And that's a blessing, like that we have. Like he said, you know, one time we went out there and the door had completely been removed. So he had to go out and scout a new route, you know. And so those are the things that we do ahead of time to ensure that, yes, you might be in a tent, but we're going to make sure you have the most spacious tent. You know, we're going to make sure when we go to Muzdalifah and we're out on the plains that you have something to lay your mat on or lay your, you know. So we really are thinking about our people in that way and in that regard, so that yes, you will be uncomfortable one way or another, but you can focus on your worship. You can focus on what you came there to do and not be distracted by, you know, anything else.
So that leads us to our next question. We understand the drastic impact that COVID-19 has had on traveling abroad, and we know that people who are intending to make Hajj have specific questions regarding vaccinations, COVID testing, how the preparation is different, and we just wonder if you could expand upon that, inshallah.
Absolutely. We like to joke, you know, we've all had that Hajj cough, right? That we done all had Corona 50 times. Anybody that's been, it's like all the symptoms of Corona is the after Hajj stuff, right? So we got the antibodies. We need to bottle that up and sell it to the world, the Muslims, right? But yes, there will be new regulations for Umrah and Hajj. So alhamdulillah for Umrah, we can start with Umrah. And Hajj Pros, inshallah, will have some packages coming up. You know, we do a winter break Umrah and spring break Umrah, and then we add another country, maybe Egypt, or we've been doing Cairo. We'll probably do Egypt again this year. And of the main new things is that you will be required to show proof of vaccination. And you will be required to do some sort of quarantine when you get there. It was longer initially, like last year. And what did they do? And again, you know, Saudi Arabia, we give them some credit. They was practicing these last 2 years where they only let people in who were presently in the kingdom perform Hajj. They got to figure this thing out. They've never dealt with this before in this manner. There have been pandemics where, you know, that was a big discussion. They're going to stop Hajj. That wasn't the first time that that happened, believe it or not. It was the first time it happened on this scale. So with Umrah, they have you have to register, pre-register. You have to show the proof of the vaccination, just like we did with the meningitis, right? And then the testing. There'll be testing when you get there. So for Hajj, there'll be a lot more governmental or Hajj ministry involvement. That's going to be one thing. Y'all remember you there, you know, you with your group and y'all doing your thing, you know what I'm saying? You're not thinking about the government and all of that, but there will be a lot more Hajj ministry facilitation and movement of the Hujjaj, of the Hajis. But that test, I mean, the vaccine, we'll have to show proof of vaccine. Like, ain't no getting around that unless you know, you able to get around it. There's you will have to spend some time, like when you get there. And it's the same when you go to Cancun today. They got them saying, you know, you got to spend a day in the hotel to show that you're not. And then there will be the checks throughout and that's not, you know, that's not going to be so invasive, but we know we just have the challenge with the vaccine, just like we've had with meningitis in the past. But inshallah, we are optimistic. We're optimistic that this coming year, it will be back open, inshallah, for the public, and companies like ourselves will be able to you know, facilitate for people around the world. Last year, they just let people in the kingdom, and you know, we had people who were talking on the ground and letting us know that's what they were, you know, regulating the amounts of people, timing when you could go inside of the Haram. I know you all saw those pictures, but again, very specifically, they have a governmental official leading the, you know, Hajj ministry official. That's never been the case. But here, with these coming years, we expect that to be more, inshallah. And then, you know, we joking about the Hajj cough and all that stuff, but again, it's like all of the right conditions to get corona. You know, you're in a tent with 72 people and breathing on each other, and you know what I mean? And then you go into the masjid, we breathing on each other and all of that. So, you know, we ask that Allah relieve the world of this challenge that we have with COVID. But those are going to be of the main things, and we'll be posting those as it becomes more official. One last thing, Saudi Arabia is, how can I say it in a nice way? Last minute with a lot of stuff. So, you know, the regulation might be this today, and then tomorrow it'll be something else. And they change it, and what can you do? We remember one year we were there and they changed the calendar day. We're like, today's Thursday, right? And they say, no, today's not Thursday, today's Wednesday, because they didn't want something to happen on Friday at the same time, or whatever the day it was. And everybody just goes along, because this is, you know, you got to go along with what Saudi Arabia says. And so be prepared, like somebody just said, yes, subject to change, but do know, yes, that vaccine is going to be required. You know, there over the years, there's been the Mahram stuff, and, you know, like I put the quotations, because all of that, alhamdulillah, we've been able to facilitate. And so we haven't got the direct facilitation for that yet, for the corona yet, but just be prepared for that, inshallah. Did that answer that question?
It did. And even before COVID, you know, I think we were supposed to fly out one day. Brother Ghani called us and said, it's the next day. So people should be prepared for anything to happen, basically.
Can we talk
And
about
then when you get
preparation?
there, it's so much, it's beautiful, more beautiful, so much more worth it. That those three little challenges that I had, that are challenges. We don't want to belittle anybody's experience, but when you get there, it's like subhanAllah, it was all worth it for me to be here at the house of Allah, and in Medina and the rest.
Alhamdulillah. Can we talk about preparation? So what should people do differently now? What should they pack differently? How should they go about it? What types of, other than the vaccination, or I'm sure they do have to get vaccinated, but
Yeah.
what should they look at for this going into this COVID phase?
I mean, with those regulations, the normal preparations, is having your documents in order, making sure that your, passport is valid. It shouldn't, expire within 6 months of travel. Also that everything is that is needed, whether it's the vaccinations, your documents, also making sure that you have your will, in order, things like that. So it's important that just your documents in order, first and foremost, that you have notified, your family, you've notified your community, everyone knows that you are going on this journey, right? With your health, building your immune system, that's priority. Exercising, walking, um, because as much as there are buses, as much as there is transportation, walking is a part of Hajj. So you do have to make tawaf, that requires walking. You do have to make sa'i, that does require walking. Going to the jamarat, that does require walking. And so you can walk for at least, 30 minutes. You may have to, pause, it does require being um, in a state of good health. Now they have, different levels of the haram now, where some people ride golf carts, if they're not able to walk. And so earlier, when the sister was given our introduction, we have taken people of different capacity levels. We've had people in wheelchairs. We've had people, not able to walk regularly.
No, don't lose your point. I'm laughing because the golf carts, but one of the ways that I get my blessings on Hajj is pushing people in wheelchairs. And so we tell the people, be able to walk, yada, yada, yada. Then the one day I pushed a person around in a wheelchair. The next day, the whole delegation needed wheelchairs. Once they saw that was an option. So I just want to reiterate what Sister Shaida said: be prepared to walk, although there are some other alternative transportation sources.
Yes, there are, but that is true. That does require, um, and so it's really a mindset, right? When we also talk about preparation, you should be reading and studying about the Hajj, right? So, what are those things that, like, if I do get separated from my group, that I can complete my rites, right? That I know where I should begin my tawaf, where I should end my tawaf, making sure that I know where to go drink from the well of Zamzam. Well, now it's spouts and, spigots, but that I know where to go ahead and make my sa'i, and complete it, inshallah. So those are the things, making sure I know what am I saying in those 2 rakats when I'm praying behind the Station of Ibrahim. And so it's good to know and study, so that when you do have classes, which we do classes before we leave, and inshallah, we're looking at doing like monthly preparations, talks, just to get people ready and in the mindset, that I'm not waiting till the last minute, because it can be overwhelming, right? Just normal travel produces a level of anxiety of, the plane, the tickets, the everything, the people. And so to reduce that anxiety, to reduce that that level or that feeling, you have knowledge, you have information, and that you are reviewing it just like you would review and study anything else, right? So I think it's important that when we talk about preparation, it's a knowledge component, it's a health component, it's a legal document component, and then it's also your community and family component, right? That you are communicating with your job. I'm going to be gone for these 2 weeks. I might need a third week just to recoup after I get back, and some people want an express Hajj. Like I just want to go for the time of Hajj. So imagine you go just during Christmas time, during the international season, right? It is Christmas time for Saudi Arabia, right? So all the prices are up. So when you think, oh, I'm going to spend less money because I'm only going for a shorter period of time, no, you're going to spend more because you're going for a less period of time if you're thinking about an express Hajj. And it's not helpful to do that all the time because it removes you from the group package, right? So yes,
Are we unmuted? It
Yes.
was muted. Okay.
yes, hopefully.
I want to add to that too, about the preparation. So Sister Shahida mentioned a lot of the logistical preparation, which she handles for the company, which is a very important part. Another part of preparation, and as she mentioned also, Hajj Pro and Al Mueddin, and that's my brother Haji Ghani. And yes, I am promoting Al Mueddin for folks on the East Coast, Philly, all day long, right? Um, we do extensive preparation prior to Hajj. At least 30 days before Hajj, Hajj Pros begins our classes weekly, every Sunday. Uh, you'll start we was doing conference calls as Zoom now, right? So, you'll log on to your Zoom, you'll have your class hour, and then there's Q&A. We send you reading material through the week. So 30 days up until Hajj, every week you'll have a class preparing. Then when you get there, before you perform any rite, Hajj Pros reviews all of those rites with you. Again, toot our own horn, the benefit of Hajj Pros is you also have a female teacher, because there are some things that are specific and unique to the Haram, to you in Saudi Arabia, what they deal, right? And during Hajj, so you have a female guide that's there to be able to assist you as well. But before you perform the rite, those things are reviewed as well. But the other preparation that I'd like to remind our folks and remind us, you're about to go do some worship. So we've kept saying that Hajj is not vacation. Hajj is a whole week of worship, right? So how do we prepare for our worship? Sometimes, unfortunately, like, we're preparing for prayer. How do I prepare with my wudu? Is it rushed? Is it half behind, or whatever? Uh, we have to make sure that I'm preparing in my mind that I'm about to go perform a ritual, a spiritual journey. And so that puts me in a mind state of getting ready for that. What do I do for that? Also, with that being the case, remind myself, like the ayah says, and Allah is He is the wise, that there is no arguing and wrangling on Hajj, right? Because He knows humans. That I prepare myself uh, to not do that. That you feel like a complete lame, and I'm, when you get there, and I'm the one that breaks out and starts the argument, or I'm the one that, whatever, because I allow, my humanness to overcome me, in this reality of this uncomfortable situation. So preparing myself that way, and preparing myself again to detach from my Western comforts, my Western Americanness, my, all of those things, and getting to the position that I am going to fulfill this obligation for Allah. And then lastly, prepare by experiencing something that we've longed for our whole lives, looking at that picture of the Kaaba on the wall and our screensaver and all of that, and be prepared to embrace that. Again, we come with all of this, the sister stories that I'm, this and all of these problems, and then I may miss. So prepare to embrace and just enjoy the fact that Allah has facilitated for you to make Hajj. So that's a big deal. It means you're a big deal as a person and as a believer, and just embrace that. So that's part of the spiritual prep that we like to remind folks about as well. But Hajj Pros has an extensive educational program for you before, during Hajj. So be ready for that too. HajjPros.com. we don't have
Alhamdulillah.
Hajj Pros alumni on. I don't think so. That was after everything 1 year. This group, they was like gun ho Hajj. Whatever they talked about at the end of it, they would say HajjPros.com just to end it out. So that was an inside joke. I'm sorry. Great questions.
Alhamdulillah, thank you. And so, so I think we can open it up for questions. We're at the Q&A time. And so let's go through.
Sister Wanda has her hand up.
Yes. Shahid is laughing.
Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Walaikum
Assalamualaikum.
assalam. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much to Girls Gone Hajj for this. This is actually a really good support. And I guess my question was earlier, I know you mentioned briefly the statement, but I guess I wanted to have a little bit more in depth on why your group is called Girls Gone Hajj, because is there something lacking? And maybe Brother Suleiman and Shahida, like, is there a lot of women that are not going, sisters that are not going to Hajj for whatever reason, like if they're not able to go with their brother or their brother-in-law or their sister, or maybe they don't have a husband or something, like, is there something about it? Why is there a lack of girls going Hajj? Why is an encouragement for this? Because I know you said in general, but is there something with women attending Hajj?
Sister Wanda, thank you so much for the question. It's Farida. This was a name we came up literally at the kitchen table of our Hajjah Saida, as a spin on a haram version of Girls Gone Something. I will not mention them. So we wanted to just give it a kind of a female spin, and also just to just really make our Muslim sisters understand that this is something they can do. We did it. We also did it as single women, understanding that we had the resources we went with our Muezzin group. So we had those resources. So we saw lots of sisters on Hajj. I can let Sister Shahida and Brother Imam talk about this. We did not see any lack of sisters there from our perspective. So I'll let them go into more about that, but that's just a little bit about the genesis of Girls Gone Hajj.
Absolutely, and I think I know what Sister Wanda is referencing, because there is a hadith, there is a tradition of the Prophet, peace be upon him, where he cautions, I'm gonna use that language, cautions women traveling by themselves away from their home without a chaperone. I'm adding more. Now you hear how I said that. It don't say nothing about women not making Hajj. Doesn't say anything about that. Doesn't say anything about women not making Umrah by themselves. It's about women traveling without a chaperone, and it was for safety. Prophet had daughters, right? Prophet was raised by women, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he had a concern. Naturally, he would have a concern, and this is practical understanding of Sunnah rather than Saudi Arabian interpretation. Of course, he would have a natural concern for women, and the encouragement in that hadith was for safety. It was for safety purposes. So women wouldn't be accosted. They living in wild Arabia, right, where men were uncivilized in the case. So that was that reality. Now, that gets juxtaposed on Hajj regulations, that women shouldn't travel without a mahram. They shouldn't travel without a male companion. And it just gets blown up that women can't make Hajj if they ain't married. Women can't make Hajj. And so that's where the origin of that concept comes from, right? Which is misunderstood. The reality is today, in today's times, even with that regulation, like, y'all remember y'all filled out your visa application, it asked you who is your mahram on there, right? Even with that's been modified. Those things have been modified because they know, okay, I'm not married. Then what? Or my male relatives, right. I'm the only Muslim in my family. There's rules and regulations of who your mahram can be in Islam, right? Those regulations have changed dramatically from the Hajj ministry of understanding that women traveling with a group, that's their mahram. Women traveling with an alim, with an imam, or with some sheikh or something like that, that becomes their mahram. So all of those things, alhamdulillah, I want to encourage sisters that's the last one that you got to worry about. That you won't be able to perform Hajj if you don't have a male relative or somebody like that. That one is alhamdulillah. Don't worry about that one at all. You can still perform your rights, inshallah.
Which is why I asked that question, and I like the fact that Girls Gone Hajj have done this, because it kind of helped with the stereotype and to help support women who believe that they can't make the Hajj.
And
Thank you.
I just wanted to add to that. I don't think that ever crossed our mind, even when we made intentions to make Hajj, that we needed to have a husband, or obviously we knew that we needed a mahram, but we were all single women at the time that we made Hajj, and we never once said, oh, maybe now it's not a good time to go because of, that reason.
There's a question here about, from Sister Naima Mustafa, discussion about financial responsibility, how to pay, payment plans, and due dates.
That's a good one. And I think someone asked something too about that debt. I didn't want to forget to add to that too. The debt that was mentioned, that the Prophet or that was sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's that we get that have to be debt free. It's personal. It's one-on-one debt. That's one. So that's not a mortgage. That's not a car payment. That's not those things. That wouldn't even fall under what the category was of what the Prophet, peace be upon him, was mentioning, or what was mentioned rather, about that debt and not going to Hajj with debt. So that's a little something different, but I wanted to make sure that we added that in there so that we're more educated and more aware of the reality of this whole situation. But as far as your money, first thing that your company is going to ask you for is a deposit. Most of the time that deposit is non-refundable. Be ready for that. The reality of that is, and Brother Gotti and other people tell you, our refund policy is totally different from Saudi Arabia's refund policy. And remember, your company, how many providers, we have hotels that we have contracts with, we have bus companies that we have contracts with, we have food providers that we have contract with, and your airliners. Each one of these has its own fee and refund policy. Okay, and I'm talking to our people, so I know what we be thinking about. So please forgive me if I'm adding on to the sister's question, but that comes with it, right? So you want to get ready for a deposit, at least $2,000. Ours is $1,500, but inflation. Be prepared for at least a $2,000 security deposit to secure your package, and you should be prepared to do that like as soon as you serious about making your Hajj. And I usually like to encourage people, that shows your commitment. You put that money on the line, you sign that contract and say you ain't getting this money back, you got to keep pressing forward. So security deposit, as soon as possible. Like Sister Shahida mentioned, your passport right away. We should have those anyway, just in case we got to escape the government, right? Then the zombies. You should already have your passport ready anyway. So have your passport as well too. I'm sorry, y'all, but it's like we got to do something for this 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. Also, you should be the end date that us as a company have to pay contracts is a month before Hajj. So it's Ramadan, excuse me. That's when Hajj opens. When Ramadan ends, that's when Hajj season opens, and we're finalizing, listen what I'm saying, we're finalizing Hajj payments and all of that with our contractors there. So you should have all of your money ready by the beginning of Ramadan, and you should be prepared to fulfill your balance by the beginning of Ramadan. Now, we all know how long after that date that we were told that we asked for extensions and need extensions and all of that, but we are obligated to fulfill that at that time. So that's what you should have in your mind as far as time frame, the year that you're going to Hajj. You should have all your money ready by Ramadan, inshallah. Most companies have, I know as Mu'adhin has it, Hajj Pros as well. You can make payments on your package. Brother Ghani's a little bit more sophisticated than us in that he has specific increment amounts that he recommends, and we just know not everybody's in the same position, but you should do something, paying on your package up until that time, so you'll be fulfilled by the beginning of Ramadan, inshallah. You get your receipt, you have your documentation, and you're ready to go. You're ready to get on that plane and labbaik Allahumma labbaik from JFK to the Hajj terminal, inshallah. Yes, if I don't know if we're asking the questions, but they said that the packages are not up. No, it's not up yet because the information hasn't been finalized from Saudi Arabia. So we like to give it when it's the end of the information. Like, we piecemeal and there's something changes. And again, our people, why y'all changing all this stuff? Because they changed it. So it's better, we've seen, and more easy that when we have the final information. But stay tuned, inshallah, that information will be up. We're expecting to have more within the month. Umrah was today, the 14th. They're supposed to be giving us final Umrah information tomorrow, as a matter of fact, on the 15th. And then Hajj, as I said, they're very compartmentalized. Umrah time, Umrah information. Hajj time, Hajj information. Pricing and all of that, we'll be able to give you that. But because we're evolving in this pandemic, some of the details we aren't able to give without knowing that they are going to change. And, we don't want to change in the middle of the road, if that makes sense. But stay tuned, Sister Naima. We want you, inshallah.
Brother Imam, I just want to implore people to be patient with your Hajj groups, okay? Okay, don't call up Shahida and Imam and Brother Ghani acting a fool, okay? Because they're getting this information as they get it. So, and some of us want, we type A personalities, we want this, and that's, you say feasibility, you make your intentions and just roll with it.
And you know what, Sister Hanifa, that's one of the biggest lessons for Hajj is being patient and knowing that you're not in control, right? So I want to, somebody said, tell some funny stories. So we got a brother here in Atlanta, shoe shine doctor. He shines shoes, but he was one of those people that we pushed around in the chair. The brother, every person, literally, I kid you not, that we passed in the Haram, he looked at him and said, you ain't in control. Allah is in control. These people don't speak a lick of English. But that was his mantra. That was the mantra for that particular year. And the whole group, like I said, we had the one group, HajjPros.com, tell a friend. This particular year, that was the mantra for the group. You're not in control, Allah is in control. And that, it was wild. Like, brother, why are you harassing these people? This crazy stuff that our people do on Hajj. But it actually, you had when you actually ingested that and understood, it takes that anxiety away. It lets you relax. And yes, Allah is in control. And it might, might gonna be like this one day, might be like that. But when I understand he's in control, but that's important because as Americans, as Westerners, we like to be in control. I like to, witness this. And on Hajj, that's not the case. You have to submit yourself to Allah, the uniqueness of the Saudi Arabian government, but more so Allah, and realize that he is in control. And it's a very beautiful thing spiritually when you're able to actually accomplish that reliance on Allah. So that's a really good point.
And just to add, some people say like that's an easy excuse, right? We can blame the Saudi government, right? Like there's some things you have to be in control of, and it's we tell people put their watch away. If they say the bus is going to be here at 9, it might be 10, you know. And it's just a matter of relinquishing that idea that, you know, I have to be in control of everything. And it's actually powerful, right? Because when you come back, you know, to this, you know, society that we live in, and you may have to, you know, be on the phone waiting for an operator or to talk to a real person, or, you know, you may be at the bank line. Well, I don't know if anybody goes to the bank anymore, but you know, we still have to go to the bank. But it's just, you know, that reality of waiting. Is like, I've waited for other things, or I've waited on Hajj just trying to get into the haram. You know, sometimes you're just standing outside waiting to get in because they're regulating the amount of people who can get in. And so it's just really submitting to that, and not trying to stress yourself out about that. Like I think we stress ourselves out about a lot of things. You know, I was stressed out before this call, but alhamdulillah, Allah's in control.
Ain't in control, a lot of control. Right? Well, these are some of the most things from Hajj. Those are those internal growths that you get from Hajj.
Brother Imam, I wonder if you could just expound on the peace that you have when you come back. I can't even describe it. It's, I don't know, Brother Ghani would say, you know, when you get back, Allah's gonna test you because he knows you can pass the test. So he did that for me a couple times. So, and I was like, okay, all right, okay, Allah, I see you. So can you just expand on the piece that if people knew, like, that they are going to be so equipped to deal with what comes after Hajj?
SubhanAllah, you hit the nail on the head. You are going to be equipped, and you were not equipped because you hadn't made Hajj yet, right? And that's one of the reasons that we should thank Allah for obligating us to perform Hajj, because he knows that he's giving us some equipment, or equipping us, is that the right way of saying it? He's equipping us in a way that nobody else gets. Nobody else knows how to be in the middle of a million people and not go crazy, right? for a man to be able to walk around for 5 days in a towel and no underwear and like survive, right? So these are some things that you'll be able to you're more refined, and that peace knowing that you just went through the University of Ibrahim, that's what I like to call it, and you graduated, and now you're able to deal with that. But that's from Allah. He gives that to you. And remember what the Prophet said, you come back like the day you were born from the wombs of your mothers, right? And that baby ain't got no stress, that baby ain't got no problems, right? That baby is in the beauty of the world. So similarly, that's the beauty of what Hajj does to you. It gives you that it equips you in that way. And then the other, Sister Hanifa, that I know that we all probably experience is when them du'as start manifesting, right? Right, you say, you know, you prayed and you say, wow, I prayed for that. That's the specifics of what I prayed for. In your mind really is, you know, mind explosion. And that gives you another emotion, that gratitude, right? That love, that appreciation that Allah, again, put me through this reality and is now fulfilling his promise to me. That's a whole nother level of that peace that I've experienced, and that I'm telling everybody, you know, y'all got to get in on this if you haven't. I know one of the things that Brother Ghani said a couple of times, you all, and people might not understand it. He said he had fun. Remember, he said that a couple of times. I feel it like this is fun, you know, to be able to go through this and you know, taking my people around and fulfilling this. And you saw how emotional he was. Now I'm gonna tell y'all, I don't know if he's on. That's because he hasn't been able to perform Hajj, and that's a part of his DNA. And so now he's describing it, and he's realizing, I've been away from my companion, which is the Kaaba. I've been away from my loved one, which is Arafat, right? And it's hard. I mean, I talked to him like over these years. I cried too. When we realized you can't go to Hajj, it's hard like that. But I'm saying all of that to say the whole experience gives you just something that nobody else gets. other than people who perform Hajj. And, you know, I want to do it as much as I can. So like, even if Sister Shaida and I didn't have a Hajj company, I still be trying to find a way to get over there, because I just enjoy it so much. And then, yes, also when you return, it's a whole nother level of beauty of your life.
I just wanted to add one additional thing. When I got back, I spent a few days in New Jersey, and then I flew back out to where I was training. And I remember I opened up my apartment door and just sat on the couch because I knew my slate was clean. And I was like, if I open the refrigerator, is my slate dirty? Like, I just sat on the couch like, okay, what can I do? I just have to process this first and then start moving. I'm like, okay, well, I have to unpack. But you really go through these deliberate things to not tarnish your slate. So it is definitely the University of Ibrahim, alayhi salam.
And I want to ask you, this is another benefit of the after Hajj. So I know two of your sisters, but did you all know each other before Hajj?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But your relationship definitely, your bond was stronger after Hajj, right?
Our bond is, yes.
That Hajj family, right? That's something else that you get from Hajj that nobody will be able to experience unless you perform Hajj. You know, you make those lifelong connections. So, you know, folks that haven't done it, do it so you can have some friends too. Girls going to Hajj.
And it is, I think it's, people's asking, what's the best thing you ever done in life? And I'm like, well, make Hajj. Like, but you're a mother. I'm like, nope, that came because I made Hajj, because that was Arafat prayer. So it's like, that is the distinction. So alhamdulillah, we pray that everybody can make the obligation when they can, inshallah.
Ameen.
Inshallah. I mean, I have one question, and we're over time, but how do we talk to the youth about, or young adults about attending Hajj? Because a lot of people want to wait until, like you said, 50 years old, 60 years old to do it as kind of their last rites. But how do we do that? How do we talk to them about that?
That's a great point. And we, as a people, and I'm saying that, I mean, Muslim Americans, we have to change the culture of how we see Hajj. We translate "he who has the ability to do it" to mean when I'm 60, right? And it don't mean that. And I like to remind them the rites of Hajj were established by elder, youth, and the woman. So sisters too, you know, you all are doing the part with encouraging the women, but also, you know, see Ishmael, that's a part of it. He was in there. He was in the mix, right? And the building of the Kaaba, the same, right? And us to just really change that culture of that's not what it means when you're old, you know. And then, you know, the trifling side is I'm awake and sin all my life, and then go, you know, sweep my slate clean when I'm 65, and that might not happen like that. And then them knees, right? Your knees and your elbows and everything else is a lot easier when you young than when you 65. So having the people understand that doing it when you're young, and it's a very enriching experience. It's like a launch pad, you know, that you could go back into your Hajj Rolodex that you performed when you was 30 or whatever, when you're 65, that, you know, that'll really change the trajectory of your life, you know, doing it young. So that's what I would say. Definitely encourage people.
You know, just you know, two things that come to mind was, and he always messes with me when I bring up this example of when we was in Malaysia, they have a bank. It's called Tabung. It's called Tabung Haji, and they actually encourage their young people to save from the time they're little. So they're like saving their little ringgits and their little coins until they have the amount of money. Why? Because the Malaysian government, you know, facilitates Hajj for their people. They send plane loads of people. So we don't have the cultural history as Muslims in America to say we have generations of people going on Hajj. And, you know, we just have to understand that we are pioneering in this effort. and we have to establish this culture, right? So if I'm talking to my young people about Hajj, I'm talking to them from the time they're 5 and 6 and 7, that Hajj is not just making this pilgrimage, it's how you commune with the world. It's how you engage. How are you a good friend to other people? Do you facilitate and support the needs of others, right? Are you willing to make sacrifices? And so it's really shifting how we approach the language of Hajj, and not just making it this this distant uh Arabia thing, and making it very personal for them, that this is your they didn't want me to say it. But this is your way of really coming into your state of Ibrahim, right? That we want them to ascend to these levels and these stations in their life. That means we have to start talking to them from an earlier point of view in planting these seeds. So I'm not waiting until my child is 13 to say, you should start thinking about rights. As a Muslim, the same way how you do prayer early on and 7 years old, same thing for Hajj, right? And so I don't know why it's doing that, but yeah, just really shifting the culture and planting those seeds that maybe we are looking at our communities, and before our children go for college, they have a gap year. I don't know, they make Hajj, and we're preparing them as a community.
It's one of the things that we did here in Atlanta, Muhammad schools. We did Umrah as their, was it senior trip or was it just a class trip? Just that there's, it keeps muting. We're not being weirdos. Encouraging our schools, our Muslim schools, and our masjids to have that as as your trip for your students and things. Umrah or Hajj is another way that we can change that culture as well, inshallah.
I just
Thank you.
real quick before you go to the next question, I just want to add, and thinking about doing it young. The other day I moved and my knee cracked, and I said, oh wait, if I was trying to do this right now, I don't know. So it is very important. I think it was a blessing that we did make Hajj when we made Hajj, because I don't know, my body is feeling it these days, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do that journey right now.
Right. Definitely. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions for our guests?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, well, this has been, thank you so much, Imam Suleiman, Sister Shahida of Hajj Pros. Can you let everybody know how to contact you?
Absolutely. HajjPros.com. One way. Contact us at Hajj Pros, or what is it? Gmail or whatever. And then we have all of the fancy social media stuff too, Facebook and Instagram.
But when you go on HajjPros.com, you click on contact us and submit your contact information. And inshallah, we'll add you to our mailing list, so you'll be able to receive the updates.
Thank you so much. This has been so informative, and it just, it gave me even more information about Hajj. And like Saida said, I hear my knees cracking, but I still want to go back.
We all do.
Definitely. So, I know we're not supposed to get jealous, but this is the time I get jealous of people when they go to Hajj. So alhamdulillah. Are there any closing comments from my Hajjs?
Yes. So we want to, again, thank you both for your time and thank everyone who attended. We also want to take this time to let you know that we are an apparel company and we are selling Heart of Hajj shirts. We're selling the That Life series, that Deen Life, that Muslima Life, that was in popular demand after our That Eid Life and that Ramadan Life were our most popular shirts sold. www.girlsgonehajj.com. We are also on Facebook, Instagram. Please visit us there. And we also wanted to let you know, this is a series that will recur every 2 months. So in November, inshallah, we will have a guest who went to Hajj and has one of those Hajj stories that everybody, like it's legend in a good way. And in the upcoming months, we'll talk about Hajj preparations, inshallah, with one of our sister groups who is into fitness. And we'll also talk about preparing your wills to get ready for Hajj. And I think there's an additional program I may be for. Oh, then we'll have a how to pack for Hajj. Hanifa and I are expert packers. We can pack anybody, anywhere quickly. And we will show you how to do it, how to roll up your clothes, all of that. That toilet tissue roll without the cardboard, all those secrets of how to pack for Hajj. Stay tuned for that as well. So we were going to also take this time to close out. We also with our last thing, we always plug Study Al-Islam, which is an excellent program. Sister Fitra Muhammad, Auntie Fitra as we call her, who is doing good work every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A huge lineup of Muslim scholars, women and men. Please tune in, studyalislam.com. All right, inshallah, Brother Imam, if you will close with Surah Al-Asr, we appreciate that.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wal Asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Ameen. Thank you again for having me.
Alhamdulillah.
Ameen. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Girls Gone Hajj, please stay on the call, please.
Absolutely. Do we want to go out with Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik?
We can.
Hajj Pros, do you want to lead us in that?
I think they jumped off, but let's do it.
Labbaik Allahumma
Labbaik. Labbaik.
Sharik Laka Labbaik.
Inna.
Alhamdulillah. Wa ni'mata laka na'bud. La sharika
Labbaik Allahumma labbaik.
Labbaik.
Sharika
Labbaik. Inna. Alhamdulillah. Wa ni'mata.